الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
سووا صفوفكم الله أكبر بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين شهد الله أنه لا إله إلا هو والملائكة وأولو العلم قائما بالقسط لا إله إلا هو العزيز الحكيم إن الدين عند الله الإسلام وما اختلف الذين أوتوا الكتاب إلا من بعد ما جاءهم العلم بغيا بينهم ومن يكفر بآيات الله فإن الله سريع الحساب فإن حاجوك فقل أسلمت وجهي لله ومن اتبعني وقل للذين أوتوا الكتاب والأميين أأسلمتم فإن أسلموا فقد اهتدوا وإن تولوا فإنما عليك البلاغ والله بصير بالعباد. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. إن الذين يكفرون بآيات الله ويقتلون النبيين بغير حق ويقتلون الذين يأمرون بالقسط من الناس فبشرهم بعذاب أليم. أولئك الذين حبطت أعمالهم في الدنيا والآخرة وما لهم من ناصرين. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Quick khatira. I know you guys all busy, inshallah. Bismillah, salatu salam ala rasulullah. So yesterday we mentioned a few things about the month that we, alhamdulillah, get to witness. Benefit of the month of Ramadan. So no one is going to tell you this, but it is kind of obvious that when you look at the Quran, and when you notice that the month of Ramadan, when it was mentioned, and yes, the month that was mentioned in the Quran, it was mentioned with a relation to the Quran. I know that this is not a big discovery. I know this is something that you all know about it. I know I'm talking to the Fajr people that, mashallah, they're aware of it. But I just want to reflect on it a little quick. You know, in Surah Al-Baqarah, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made a statement, and he stated that شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن هدى للناس وبينات من الهدى والفرقان. The month of Ramadan was the month that the Quran was revealed, was sent as هدى للناس, as a guidance to mankind, not just to Muslim people. Watch the wording is beautiful. وَبَيِّنَاتٍ مِّنَ الْهُدَى وَالْفُرْقَانِ, guidance to mankind, and you see this guidance and you feel like that there is a little pressure in all of us. And when I say a little pressure in all of us, a little pressure not only to reflect in the Quran, not only to have a relationship with the Quran, but especially during the month of Ramadan. So think about Ramadan again as a boot camp. And in my boot camp, everything is going to come to play. All the weapons, and I call it weapons, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us, all the tools to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will be deployed during the month of Ramadan as a part of the training camp, as a part of the boot camp. And one of those tools that we cannot deny, that we maybe a little short on and some other days outside of Ramadan, that maybe we try to do more during the month of Ramadan is a reflection in the Quran, is a reflection. Maybe I'll do a little more reading, right, in the Quran. Maybe I'll try to get a little more meanings to understand it. And if you look around at all of us here, that maybe we have a different level of that ability to read the Quran. Some of us might be Arab, and by the way, not all Arabs understand words of the Quran. This is a fact. I'm one of the Arabs, and I share this with you. Not all Arabs know how to read, even read the Quran, even if they speak Arabic. Yes, even if they speak Arabic. And not all Arabs who speaks Arabic knows how to understand words or meanings of the Quran. So why I'm saying all of this? I'm saying all of this because in another verse of the Quran, in Surah Al-Furqan, in Surah Al-Quran, Surah Al-Furqan, that the Prophet ﷺ made a statement. He said, وَقَالَ الرَّسُولُ يَا رَبِّ إِنَّ قَوْمِ اتَّخَذُوا هَذَا الْقُرْآنَ مَهْجُورًا. The Prophet made a statement. He said, Ya Allah, my people abandoned. Big statement. So try to reflect in this, how you abandon the Quran. Because even the scholars came up with different explanation to that word. How will you abandon the Quran? So the obvious one is, I'm not reading it. And I know some of us will be looking at me and say, oh, come on, man, it's easy for you to say. Maybe you can read Arabic. Maybe some of us cannot read Arabic. Read it and struggle with it. If you cannot read the Arabic, try to understand the meaning. If you cannot understand the meaning, read the translation of the Quran to understand the meaning. Each one of us, wallah, an advice that was given to me. And use the Quran as your shifa, as your healer. وَنُنَزِّلْ مِنَ الْقُرْآنِ مَا هُوَ شِفَاءٌ وَرَحْمَةٌ لِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ. Use the Quran as your mercy, as your healing, because that's what the Quran, that's what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us in the Quran. So, you have to get a word, and I'm saying this, and what's a word? A word is, based on your ability, there is no actual set amount of how much you can read every day of the Quran. But I'm telling you this based on your ability as a Muslim. If you can read one line, make it one line to read. If you can read one page, make it one page to read. If you can read one chapter, alhamdulillah, because you feel like you can, you get enough time to read one chapter, make it that one chapter to read, but try to reflect on it. This comes then outside of the month of Ramadan. Comes in Ramadan, you feel like, oh man, I need to hustle. That hustle word, can I add a little more to that one line? Can I make them two lines? Can I be consistent? And that's the boot camp secret right here. Can I be consistent in my Quran reading? That if I start, how old am I today? Maybe, I'm 57. If I start reading the Quran maybe at age, whatever, 10, 20, and if I added that a few lines every day, maybe I'll be done one now. How many of us finish the Quran? Maybe some of us finish it once. Maybe some of us finish it 10, 15, 100th time. And again, the ability of what I'm talking about is different from one person to another person. So abandoning the Quran was defined as I'm not reading it. But some of us, that abandonment of the Quran is even defined in a little different way. So for example, if you memorize the Quran, some of it, part of it, all of it, you will be considered abandoning it if you're not keeping your memorization. Oh, bigger responsibility. Well, I'm not talking about just the reading part. You abandon it because, I forgot the one surah or the two surah or the 5 surah or the 15 surah, the one chapter, the 10 chapters, whatever that you have, if you forgetting it, that is considered a form of abandonment to the Quran. Other scholars came in and they said, wait a second, it's even worse than that. And you're getting everyone attention. Why it's worse than that? Because if I'm not understanding the meaning of the Quran, that is also considered a part of the amendment. So now I have a lot of duties. I feel like I have a lot of duties in me. And I'm not just sharing this with you because I want you to understand and to reflect on it, but I also want you to feel like that I need to do something about it. Use the boot camp during this month to fulfill some duties. That's not just limited to the fasting part. That's not just limited to the praying, the 5 mandatory prayer, the sunnah prayer, the qiyam that we're doing, but also a part of our duties. And this is what I call a hidden obligation. Why I call it hidden? Because it's not really a part of the 5 pillars of Islam that you will need to read Quran. But I call it an obligation because we don't want to be considered among those people who are abandoning the Quran. So based on your level, maintain that relationship with the Quran. Maintain that reflection with the Quran. If you manage to be in any one of those levels, at least you should have a reflection. At least you should have understanding to some of the meaning. If you happen to be memorizing even one surah, you would like to maintain that one surah that you have, and you also would like to build over it. You'd like to add, let me get another surah here to add, alhamdulillah, to my agenda at the same time. So continue, inshallah, you're reading to the Quran. Continue. The Quran is a healer. Prophet ﷺ, he stated, alaykum bishifa'in. He recommended the two healers, al-asal wal-Quran. Honey is a healer, believe it or not, and Al-Quran is a healer. How many of us, we ride in our cars and maybe we have a short ride, maybe we have a long ride. Get your ear used to the Quran. Put that, don't worry about the news. Don't worry, I know we're not worrying about music. Put that CD player to work. Put a CD of the Quran and try to understand, reflect on what it means. And again, if you don't understand the Arabic words, get a translation to do it, but at least do something, inshallah, about it. Jazakumullah khairan. Subhanakallah wa bihamdika. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.